Hello, this is Photography Gamer, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be breaking down a beginner's guide for Galactic, the first person sci-fi co-op mining game. I'll break down what you can do in the Space Rig hub, what the different classes of dwarves are like, mission types, locations, combat, enemy types and a few other tips and tricks. So before you jump into a mission, each session starts out at the Space Rig. You start in your living quarters. To the right hand side you have the character selection terminal. This allows you to select which dwarf you want to use and you can cycle through different cosmetic presets for each dwarf. On the left of the room is the mission statistics terminal with tabs for stats, milestones and perks. The stats refer to what you've achieved in all of your missions to date. The milestones are like achievements that reward you with perk point stars, and the perks are unlockable passive and active buffs that grant your dwarves special abilities. Then if you leave the living quarters, to the left and the right you'll see a wardrobe. This is where you change your visual appearance. You can alter your headwear, armor, paint jobs, skin color, victory poses, hair color, beard, moustache, sideburns and eyebrows. Bear in mind, when you start you'll only have the default options, but over time you will unlock a whole host of other varieties. In the central area you'll see a large glowing globe. This is where you can select your mission. When opened you'll see a regional map with all the different zones where missions take place. Here you'll find a list of ongoing missions with servers you can freely drop in and join an existing team. Or you can select any mission you like, decide whether it will be public, friends only or solo, and then select the appropriate difficulty. In the corner near the elevator is the pickaxe customization terminal. Here you can alter the front and back blades, head, handle, paint job, pommel and shaft of your pickaxe. But bear in mind these take time to find, so again when you first visit you're only going to have default options. Next is the drone modification terminal, which allows you to alter Bosco, the drone that will accompany you if you're playing the game in solo. You can unlock various perks with credits and minerals. You can change Bosco's color scheme or physical design. Then we have the loadout terminal. Now this is one that you'll be using a lot as it lets you select your weapons, perks and what items you want to upgrade with your available resources. You can add passive or active perks that have been unlocked. You can change or upgrade your primary or secondary weapon, pickaxe, traversal tools, grenades, armor and other special items. Each piece of gear has different levels of upgrades and as your character goes up the ranks, more options will become available. Next we have the assignment terminal. Assignments are series of missions that once completed will grant you a benefit such as a promotion or access to a new weapon for example. The list of assignments will vary depending on your current level, but there is usually one or two there at any one time. Next we have the store. This is where you can spend your hard-earned resources on skin and hair colors, armor, headwear, eyebrows, moustaches, beards and sideburns. Be aware you need credits and minerals to buy most of these items, and in time the list of options will grow as your level grows. Next to the store is the mineral trade terminal. You can buy and sell minerals, but bear in mind you don't get a lot of money for them. Next we have the season terminal. Now this is a fairly recent addition with the game now featuring seasonal events. Here you can check what level you're on, unlock rewards or view challenges that you can complete. You can also unlock stuff in the cosmetic tree using scripts. Next we have the forge. Again, this won't be available until you get promoted. The forge is used to craft items or weapon overclocks, but again, this isn't something you'll need to worry about until a good week or two of play. If you don't know what overclocks are, they're like a special item you can attach to a gun when it's fully upgraded and it will give it unique attributes. Another terminal that only becomes accessible after promotion is the deep dive terminal. Deep dives are challenging missions that come in 3 parts and can be hosted, joined or played in solo, but again only available for promoted dwarves. Right, now let's have a look at the Abyss bar. This is where you can have a bit of downtime, throw some shapes on the dance floor, or drink a variety of craft beers that are unlockable over time. The beers have different effects, and there is also a special brew that gives anyone who drinks it a buff for the next mission. To the side of the bar is a barrel kicking minigame, which is a bit of light relief, and if you head to the next floor up, you'll find the gravity calibration button if you fancy floating around the hub for a short time. There is also another secret game that can be accessed via one of the lower level tunnels. It features 2 goals and a disco ball and can be set up anywhere on the rig. The rig also features a memorial hall accessed via the lift in the corner. This is where you go once you've reached level 25 and have completed the promotion assignment. The statues will turn gold once you've promoted that individual class. And the only other thing in the rig is the drop pod itself, which is where you go when you're ready to start your chosen mission. And that pretty much covers everything in the space rig. Okay, next let's take a look at the available mission types. Number 1, we have mining expeditions. These are the most basic missions available and involve you mining morkite, a green material that can be found formed on cave walls. You'll have to explore the level, dig your way through muddy segments and gather the required amount of morkite. Once gathered, you have to store it in the mule, your mobile storage device, and once you've met your quota, you can call in the drop pod and extract back to base. Next, we have egg hunts. Egg hunts involve you exploring the level while looking out for pulsing, fleshy formations. Once found, you dig into the formation, dig out an egg, carry it, deposit it in the mule. Once you've collected all of the eggs, deposit them, call in the drop pod, and extract. The third mission type is on-site refining. Firstly, you have to locate wells and call in a pump jack. Then you have to create a pipeline from the refinery to the well, which can be a lot more complicated than it sounds. Once all the pump jacks are connected, you can start refining. During this process, you have to fight off bugs, fix the pipelines occasionally, and then escape when the drop pod arrives. The fourth mission type are salvage operations. These involve you locating mini mules that have been abandoned. Once found, you need to locate 3 legs for each mule, reattach them, repair the mule, then send all of the mules to the damaged drop pod. You'll have to deploy an uplink, hold off waves of bugs, refuel the drop pod, and survive the onslaught until the drop pod is ready to depart. The fifth mission type is point extraction. These involve gathering up quarks, which are large blue crystals that are embedded in the walls, but they give off a blue glow in the darkness. So you'll be doing lots of digging and carrying and depositing. Then once it's all done, you call in the drop pod and head to the extraction point. The sixth mission type is escort duty. These missions have 3 phases. Firstly, you have to start the drill dozer, a large automated drill that carves a path through the level to your objective. But once or twice the drill dozer will run out of fuel, at which point you have to pull out the fuel cells and find oil shell in the level, refuel it, done. But beware, if the drill dozer gets too damaged, it will be mission over, so it's always worth leaving one of your dwarves behind to protect it. You'll end up arriving at a large chamber where you'll find the Omerand Heartstone. It takes a good few minutes for the drill dozer to crack it open, so you'll be in horde defense mode during that time until you get the Heartstone. Attach it to the mule, call in the drop pod, follow the mule to the drop pod. The 7th mission type is elimination. These are a seek and destroy mission where you have to find large glowing cocoons, shoot them and kill off the large boss that emerges. Once you've killed all the dreadnoughts, call in the drop pod, extract, done. The final mission type is Industrial Sabotage, which was recently added in the latest seasonal content update. These involve you locating a large power station, calling in a hacking pod, connecting the nodes, start the hack, defend Haxxy until the lower vault shield has gone, fight for your life, secure the data and call in the drop pod. Okay, so those are the missions, but each mission will have anomalies or warnings to take into consideration as well. So anomalies, there's about, how many? 8. So you've got Gold Rush, that means extra gold. Low Gravity means you can jump higher and fall damage is reduced. Mineral Mania means what you would imagine, a lot more minerals spread throughout the level. Golden Bugs means every kill, bugs will drop a chunk of gold. Rich Atmosphere means that the bugs and the dwarves will be faster, but your voice will sound like you've just sucked a helium balloon. Critical Weakness means that weak spots do more damage. Double XP is what you would imagine, and Volatile Guts means that when you kill an enemy, they explode, so be careful not to get surrounded. The warnings are as follows. There are Exploder Infestations, Shield Disruption, Mactera Plague, which are flying enemies, Cave Leech Clusters, which I'll go into later, Parasites, which are these little annoying little shits, Regenerative Bugs, Low Oxygen, which means you'll have to stay close to the mule, otherwise you'll suffocate, Lethal Enemies that have a melee boost, Haunted Cave, which creates a kind of a nemesis type enemy that you cannot kill, at least I don't think you can, Elite Threat, which means stronger, faster and deadlier enemies, and Swarmageddon, which includes a tsunami of Glyphid Swarmers. One thing I haven't touched on so far is the extraction to the drop pod. It's not as simple as it sounds, but I will go into that in the navigation section. Okay, so those are the types of missions and the conditions, but what about the planetary regions where these missions take place? Firstly, you've got the Azure Weald. This features a bioluminescent fauna, mobular cave angels that you can use to fly on, and the minerals available are cropper and oomanite. Now this place can be difficult for mining missions, as it's tough sometimes to see the Morkite, as it is a similar colour palette to the actual levels themselves. Then we have the crystalline caverns. Now these are dense granite walls, then they require 3 hits to destroy one block, so if you don't have a driller in your team, this could be a problem. This could take a long time to navigate if you're doing pipelines. They have interesting crystal formations, and they also have minerals such as jadis and bismore. Then there's the dense biozone. This has lush vegetation, terraced walls that create difficult traversal challenges, and minerals such as bismore and oomanite. Then you have the fungus bogs. These have high toxicity levels. They have fungi growing everywhere. Cropper and jadis are the minerals. Now this is the type of level that really can grind your health down bit by bit, because the atmosphere is toxic and you're always coughing and spluttering because of the fungus fumes, so be careful here on long missions. Then we have the glacial strata. Now this is cold, which can mean that your character might freeze at certain points, which can be a problem. You will have to mine the gap because chasms can be formed mid-level, and the minerals available are magnite and oomanite. Then we have the hollow bow. Now these are wooden caves, which is kind of interesting, but there are these annoying deadly vines that will slowly chip away your health or physically attack you. Very frustrating, in particular during extraction. The minerals available are jadis and bismore, and it is just a very challenging logistical problem in the hollow bow because it is what it is. It's hollow, so you have these big open sections with surrounding walls, and it can be quite difficult once you're at the bottom to get out, especially with a 5-minute exit countdown. Then we have the magma core. These feature magma geysers, and they can really cause some big damage. You have Hoxquakes, which are mini earthquakes that change the environment. Minerals available are magnite and cropper, and it's the kind of level where the longer you're there, the more dangerous it becomes because of the magma, because of the kind of the quakes. Then we have the radioactive exclusion zone. So this is obviously contaminated with green glowing lights that will kill you if you stand there too long. Creatures are mutated, causing additional damage, and the minerals available are oomanite and enor pearl. Then we have salt pits. These have really nice interesting salt formations which make for good platforming, but they're very unstable. It's a breeding ground for shelled enemies who are a bit of an issue, a bit of a problem if you're not quick. And the minerals are enor pearl and bismore. Then we have sand blasted corridors. So obviously it's made of sand, which means you hit it once with your pickaxe, it destroys it. So this is a really good level for easy tunnel building. You don't need the driller to do quick tunnels here. but there are wind sections which will blow you in the air and can cause a problem because the fall damage might hurt you, minerals, enor pearl and magnite. So those are the regions. They all have their own problems, but the more you play, the more you'll learn and adapt to the conditions. Okay, so we've covered the space rig, mission types and the different regions, but what about the dwarves themselves? Which dwarf would best suit your playstyle? Well, let's break down all 4 classes one by one. The Scout class is all about getting around quickly and easily and lighting the way for you and your team. The Scout, like all dwarves, is equipped with a pickaxe to harvest minerals and basic flares that recharge over time. The Scout is armed with a deep core GK2 assault rifle, which is pretty effective but perhaps lacks the punch when dealing with armoured enemies. You also have the jury-rigged boomstick, which packs a pretty good punch but sadly isn't great if you're being swarmed by a horde. Each class of dwarf has a particular traversal tool to help them get around, with the Scout having a grappling hook. The grappling hook is a fantastic way of reaching high or low spots without any damage, or if you need to get out of danger fast, it's really good for that too. Its speed and effectiveness means the Scout will often become a bit isolated as you enter rooms first and often move on before the rest of your squad are even there. The second piece of special gear is the flare gun. Not to be confused with the standard flares, the flare gun can shoot a super bright flare into any fixed location and it lights a large area for a good amount of time. So the usual way the Scout class works is you use your grappling hook to get into the room first, light it up with your flare gun, then look for the next room. You also have the Fox armor rig and various grenades such as cryo, pheromone canisters or the inhibitor field. So in summary, the Scout has excellent mobility, good lighting capabilities and is always the first dwarf in the room, but Scouts can tend to get isolated as they go off exploring, they're not the best team player class and have limited firepower. So good entry level class but perhaps not the most well-rounded of the 4. Next we have the Gunner. The Gunner has the Leadstorm powered minigun, a Bulldog heavy revolver and sticky incendiary and cluster grenades. The traversal tool is a zip line launcher which creates a permanent zip line that all dwarves can use to get from A to B. The Gunner also uses a shield generator to protect from bug attacks, uses the Barracuda armor rig and in general is the most dangerous dwarf in terms of attack capability. So in summary, the Gunner has a great arsenal of firepower, can help the whole team navigate tricky cave formations with the zip lines and can also protect using the shield. But the Gunner is one of the slowest classes when navigating caves in solo and can often struggle when escaping to the drop pod if they're on their own. So the Gunner is for players who enjoy the fight but aren't too bothered about gathering resources or getting around quickly. But again, a great support dwarf and excellent in levels where you're expecting a deadly bug presence. Next we have the Engineer. The Engineer has the Warthog 210 semi-auto shotgun along with the deep core 40mm PGL grenade launcher. The traversal tool is the platform gun which lets you shoot out circular platforms to give access to all, but it does require some planning, correct placement and can be time consuming. The second special item are the sentry turrets which can be placed anywhere to defend the Engineer when building these elaborate platforms for traversal. The Engineer uses the Owl armor rig and has access to lure, plasma and proximity mines. So in summary, the Engineer has good proximity defense, can create platforms or bridges to help all dwarves get around and is a good team player for intermediate level players. Negatives, well as I said, making platforms can be problematic under alien attack or under time constraints, like the 5-minute rush to the drop pod. They don't have great rapid firepower if the turret isn't in play, and I'd say the Engineer is for players who aren't in a rush and like to take their time. The final class is the Driller. The Driller is armed with the CR SPR flamethrower, a Subata 120 semi-auto handgun, as well as the Mole armor rig, an impact axe, high explosive or neurotoxin grenades. The traversal tool are the reinforced power drills. The power drills grant you the ability to tunnel your way through the environment at a steady speed and can really help out the whole team when you're getting around. They're also great when creating pipelines and getting from A to B quickly and efficiently. This is really most useful when extracting, as you know, in my time playing with the driller, I don't think I've ever missed the drop pod, as you just drill your way to it in relative safety. The other special item are the satchel charges, which are great if you need to mine quickly, blow out tunnels, or just create a large crater. So in summary, the driller is a great team player, can rescue people quickly, causes fire damage that the bugs hate, and is also great fun to play with if you're more of a creative gamer. It's for people who don't want to follow the beaten track, go your own way, drill through anything to carve a path for you and your teammates. Okay, those are the 4 different classes. I've used them all, and I would say the Scout is the best one to start with, then perhaps move on to the Driller, and maybe finish with the Engineer or the Gunner, as they're probably the hardest to master. Right, next let's take a look at the combat and enemy types. Firstly, you can select the hazard level before you embark on a mission, and once a mission is active, you can replenish your ammunition by collecting the red mineral Nitra, which is used for supply drops. Now, I would say the enemies in Deep Rock on their own aren't that dangerous, but it's the accumulation of enemies that really cause the problem. The game features a whole host of creatures. I'm not going to go through all of them, instead I'm going to pick out a few that could cause you problems if you're not aware of the dangers. Firstly, we have the grunts. Now, these are most common enemies that you're going to find. They're pretty easy to kill, but they do hunt in packs. Also, if you have the Beast Master perk, you can recruit one of these to join your team. Next come the Glyphid Oppressor. These are heavily armoured and can be very dangerous in narrow spaces. They cause damaging shockwaves, and they really do need to be treated with respect. Then there are Glyphid Bulk Detonators. These large creatures can take a lot of punishment, but they do move very slowly. The biggest threat that they offer is the Death Shockwave, which covers a large area upon detonation and forms a crater. The Mactera Grabber is another problem enemy. These sneaky little buggers creep around the dark caves and grab unsuspecting dwarves. These do pose a big problem, especially when you're extracting from the level. So if you've made it to the drop pod and you're waiting for your team to arrive, get in the pod. Because if you're standing outside, there might be a Mactera Grabber out there to scoop you up, and it might result in no one getting back to the drop pod. Finally, one of the biggest threats to a successful mission are the Cave Leeches. Now, they may not look like much, but if you walk under their tentacle, they'll scoop you up and kill you pretty quickly. Then they drop you to the ground where they picked you up, and they will wait for your teammates to arrive to attempt revival. Then they'll scoop them up and repeat. Now, if you're playing without a microphone, these can be mission ending if you don't communicate that danger, because one player will come, they'll get lifted up, killed, dropped, and unless you really think, if you haven't played the game much and you don't know about the cave leeches, it can kill your whole team. In solo though, Bosco will usually do the trick. Okay, now let's look at navigation and logistics. Deep Rock has some of the most challenging and creatively structured levels that I've ever seen. The caves are huge, verticality is a problem, maze-like tunnels, or large caverns with treacherous features. The first thing to look out for are the dirt formations. These act as a bridge between one section and the next. Find it, dig through it, onward you go. The terrain scanner is a really good tool for navigation, as it lets you see a digital scan of the environment. You can zoom in, zoom out, and certain key items will be highlighted on there from time to time. Light is another key factor, as without it you might walk off a ledge or stumble into a group of enemies. The laser pointer is good for identifying resources, letting teammates know about things that you've found, or ordering Bosco around in single player. If you're playing in a team, the one thing I would say is try to make sure everyone can get out of the cave safely. Don't just jump down, explore, gather resources, then call in the drop pod. Successful extraction can be reliant on leaving a path for you and your team to return to. Drillers can be great for that, creating clean tunnels. Engineers can place platforms to make the return journey easier for all, and the gunner can do the same with his zip lines. But even the most experienced Deep Rock players will from time to time suffer drop pod extraction panic attacks. Trust me, I've been there many times. Someone presses the button, you're not ready, the mule calculates the quickest route, and then the mule goes, leaving these green flares in its wake. Now, in most caves, following the mule, it's pretty easy. But be warned, mules can climb sheer surfaces or climb along walls, and the dwarves can't. So one tip I would offer is Don't call in supply drops in narrow corridors, because when you do this, it leaves a clean tube-like space in the map. Now, the mule might see that and think, oh, that's a quick route out. Yeah, it is for them. For everyone else, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Don't do it. Do it in a big cave location, like in a big open cavern. One surefire tip for extraction is, upon completing all of your objectives, don't call the drop pod in. Go to the highest point in the level. Then call in the drop pod, because it is a damn sight easier going downhill than it is going up. Right, we've about covered everything, but there are a few little bits and pieces that I'm going to cover here just to sort of wrap it up. So when you're in a cave, if the wall is glowing, it usually means there's some large mineral inside. Dig it out, carry it to the mule, deposit, done. There are abandoned masks that you can find. Scan them and it will show a pink icon on your terrain scanner. This is basically a fallen dwarf. Dig your way to that pink icon and you'll be rewarded with lots of minerals and a cosmetic item. Golden loot bugs offer a big payout, but not as much as the Glyphid Crassus detonators. Like the other detonators I spoke of earlier, these are bullet sponges again, but they explode leaving a large crater. The difference is here, the crater is gold. You have the Huli Hoarder. It's a kind of a greedy bug who, if killed, sprays the area with all sorts of useful minerals, but they really are fast. If you shoot them, they'll panic and run off, so you got to act quickly, heavy firepower, bang. There are ghosts in haunted caves, and these are like, I guess you would compare them to the Nemesis in Resident Evil. You can't kill them, they keep following you. I don't think you can kill them, maybe there is a way. If someone knows that, put that in the comments, but they basically mean you've got to keep moving. You'll find terminals again that can be unlocked and start a timed minigame, and they will reward you with matrix cores to craft in your forge, but obviously once you're promoted. And finally, the new season added hacks, letting you hack terminals to gain new tech, which will give you extra experience points on the mission completion screen. Okay, so that concludes my beginner's guide to Deep Rock Galactic. I think I've covered everything that you will need to know to get started, and a few little tips to help you make progress in the early game. But the more you play Deep Rock, the more you'll learn, and it is a great little game that I personally really enjoy. Whether it's in solo or co-op, it's very satisfying with lots of random things affecting each mission, and it really keeps it feeling fresh and adds replay value. So if anything wasn't clear or you have any questions, drop them in the section below. If you'd like to see my review of the game, I'll put that in the description as well. But for now, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. This is Photography Gamer signing off. Thank you.